All right, I'm not usually on camera for this channel, but for today, I think it's important to clarify why I'm doing this video. And it's to have a non-biased, honest discussion about race and race swapping in Hollywood. I want to take a serious look at the consequences on camera and off camera.
Let's fucking go! Let's fucking go.
There was a time in Hollywood where every major role was played by a white actor. And it was an unspoken rule that black characters had to be servants, criminals, or comic relief. Blacks were relegated to the roles of maids, criminals, and clowns. This scene from The Conqueror is a great example, a movie about Genghis Khan starring the very white cowboy John Wayne. And it's a great example of how casting used to be done in Hollywood. This scene from Breakfast at Tiffany's stars Mickey Rooney as Mr. Yonoshi, insultingly playing a Japanese man. And before you think this only happened in the far, far away past, you just have to look at recent films like 2010's Prince of Persia with Jake Gyllenhaal, who's obviously not Persian, or 2016's Doctor Strange with Tilda Swinton, who is definitely not Nepali. 2017's Ghost in the Shell, Scarlett is definitely not Japanese. Yeah, I know it's supposed to be a robot, but it's a flimsy excuse because in the original, she was a Japanese robot. So you can see the practice is still very much alive. For the sake of being polite, I won't even mention Emma Stone's 2015 Aloha.
Warmest aloha, sir.
Jesus Christ. To be fair, Hollywood did start to correct itself and cast black and minority actors in roles where they were equals. The first, shockingly, is I Spy with Bill Cosby. Yeah, the cause has done a lot for black people. We forget. Which became a massive hit, opening the door to more black actors in equal roles. Then came the Sidney Poitier films like 1967's In the Heat of the Night and Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. That blew the doors wide open to black representation, meaning that the roles were equal to white actors, and a black character could be a lead. The 70s gave us great shows like Sanford and Son, The Jefferson, and Good Time. Blaxploitation films, say that 3 times fast, like Shaft and Foxy Brown, made Richard Roundtree and Pam Grier into major celebrities. But these were all original stories and characters. Then came The Wiz. Yep, I looked it up. There were a few other race swap characters, in the 50s and 60s, but nothing has had the lasting legacy of 1978's The Wiz, which is basically a race swapped version of The Wizard of Oz. And you know what? It flopped. So even back then, no, I won't say it. This is meant to be a positive video. In modern times, we see films like The Little Mermaid, Snow White, The Doctor, and TV, and of course, most recently, Severus Snape is going to be played by a black man. These characters were all originally white folks, and for one reason or another, were race swapped to fill a narrative void. It's become really common in Hollywood not only to race swap, but to gender swap and swap sexualities. A la John Kent, I'm sorry, this one was just done for attention. And the result is that people who love the legacy characters are insulted by the change. And people who get mad at them for being mad are also upset. So everyone's really pissed at the situation. So my friends, today we're going to take a deep dive into the question, does race swapping characters work? Who's benefiting from all this?
It's Hollywood, baby.
And ultimately, are we building a better future? Is having DEI on screen creating a more perfect union where we all get along a little bit better? Let's start with the obvious question. Why do they do it? Well, it's freaking easy. You don't have to build a new world. You don't have to create a new character. You simply have to swap a white character for a minority. All the time and energy that was used to create the fan base of that character is supposed to be, on paper, transferred over to the swap. And while the machine of Hollywood sees it as an easy cash grab and a minimal risk, we the fans don't see that because I personally don't think goodwill is transferable. Fans who grew up with the original character feel like their history, the things they love, are being discarded and thrown aside, even if the change is minor. Now, let's look at one of the biggest swaps in the last few years, Ariel, the Little Mermaid. While I wasn't a huge fan, I can understand the outrage of the fan base when they replaced the cartoon Ariel with Halle Bailey. It's a shock to the system. And as a personal example, I'm Gen X. The first time I saw Superman on screen, it was Christopher Reeve. To me, Reeves will always be my Superman. And while I love Henry Cavill, he will never be equal in my mind. And I think that's a good reflection of where everyone else is. If you grew up with a white Little Mermaid, it is a shock to your system to see anyone, any other race, any other culture, playing that character. But let's take a deeper look into the consequences of that race swap. The 1989 version of The Little Mermaid has a 92% approval on Rotten Tomatoes. It also made $235 million, not counting video rentals, on a budget of $40 million. By contrast, 2023's Little Mermaid has a Rotten approval rating of 67% and only made, I know it's relative, $569 million. But fucking hell, it cost $240 million to make, which means it pretty much broke even when you count advertising. But the consequences of it are what shocks me. The fan base became divided. People dislike Disney solely for this reason. Disney lost credibility, which means that people bought fewer DVDs, fewer toys, and less people went to Disney theme parks. And while the diversity crowd is more than happy to cheer on the diverse character on Twitter, they shout to the heavens that, yay, we have diversity, we have equality, they don't spend the money. They make a lot of stink, but ultimately they don't support the film with their dollars. Hence the box office. So in the end, changing Ariel from white to black didn't grow the fan base. It, in fact, probably shrunk it. In my humble opinion, real representation isn't about a quick paycheck or profiting from someone else's hard work. It's about investing in new heroes. It's fresh storytelling. Ideas that grow fandoms rather than alienating them. Race swaps can feel like an easy button until you realize that the money and loyalty don't actually transfer that easily. They have to be earned, one fan at a time. That doesn't mean it can't be done. There are a handful of stories and characters that have gotten better because of the race swap. I'll be honest, it has more to do with the actor playing the character than the story itself. Samuel L. Jackson absolutely nailed it as Nick Fury. His portrayal was so good that the main universe in Marvel Comics was replaced by Jackson's version. But let's be honest, no one who loves comic books claimed that Nick Fury was their favorite character. He was cool, and he was cool, but he was a side character that had the most generic of personalities and gear. Replacing him with one of the coolest, most charismatic black dudes in the history of modern cinema was a no-brainer. Jackson made the character bigger and better than he ever was in the comics, and Marvel and we, the fans, are all better for it. Then, of course, there's The Equalizer. This one has been rebooted with 2 black actors. One, my man Denzel, and again with Queen Latifah as a TV show. Still not sure about that one, but it did run longer than the original by a season. I can't say much about it because I haven't watched it, but I do love Queen Latifah. I don't care that she's gay, I still love this scene. Denzel version started in 2014, and I have to be honest, I had no idea that it was based on a TV series, and I had no clue who Edward Woodward was. And if you asked the average person on the street, they probably wouldn't either. The original show was at best moderately successful, and there wasn't a ravenous fan base who got dressed up as Robert McCall on weekends and went to conventions. It was an easy layup that depended on the charisma of a double Academy Award winner that your mommy probably thinks of in the tub when she's by herself. The series has had fantastic success with 3 movies that made money, and by all accounts, they're doing a 4th and 5th one. The thing is, with shows or movies that have been forgotten, even if it bombed, no one would have been upset. No one was upset when they cast Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury or Denzel as the Equalizer, because there was no one to upset. So yeah, it can be done, as long as no one cares about the legacy character and you cast someone ridiculously talented and charismatic. But what about popular characters? Characters that have dedicated fans who love them? I get it, we want to correct the wrongs of the past, but in my opinion, you don't replace, you build. If you respect the characters that are already there, it can work spectacularly. Enter Miles Morales. Miles is Spider-Man in his universe. By the way, if you haven't seen any of the Spider-Verse films, do it, they're awesome, after you watch this video. Instead of elbowing Peter Parker aside and forcing him into retirement, or worse, Into the Spider-Verse hands us a brand new hero in Miles Morales. He steps in without ever replacing the guy who came before him. Miles just doesn't don Peter's mask and repeat the same jokes. He's a kid from Brooklyn with his own family drama, his own set of powers, which are basically stupid, I'll be honest, and his own reasons for being Spider-Man. Then, early in the film, we meet Peter B. Parker. He's tired, he's world-weary, and he's been Spider-Man for more than 20 years, and he has the scars, both physical and emotional, to show for it. He's alone in the world because Aunt May is gone, and he couldn't hold it together with Mary Jane. Now, instead of benching Peter or making him obsolete, he goes on his own hero's journey. See, Peter's problem is he can't get to the next step. Mary Jane wants to move on with her life, get married, have kids, and Peter just quite can't handle it. But spending time with Miles gives him perspective. He gets to be a mentor. In other words, he gets to be a father. So they give Peter his own hero's journey. We get to enjoy Peter's journey with him. This gives us new perspective on the characters, and by the end of the movie, both men, Peter and Miles, become better versions of themselves. And the second movie, Peter actually takes the big leap. He's a father and a husband. He helped Miles become a hero, and Miles helped Peter get to the next step. They're both better for being each other's lives, and we as the audience get to go along for a journey, which is fantastic. The film also throws open the door to the multiverse, so we get to meet Gwen Stacy, Spider-Ham, Penny Parker, Spider-Noir, and thousands of other different versions of Spider-Man. These new heroes don't feel tacked on. They feel like an expansion of the universe of a character we love. Fans of Peter never feel betrayed because Peter's still in their story, cheering on his protege rather than skulking around in the background, and he gets to be the hero a couple of times, saving Miles from himself. Most importantly, Miles' journey never feels like a carbon copy of Peter's. You come away caring for both heroes, believing in both of their victories, and eager to see what happens next. And that's the lesson. Real representation doesn't come from swapping faces on an existing role. It comes from creating new heroes who honor the original while telling stories we've never seen before. Miles Morales expanded the entire Spider-Man universe. He won over a whole new generations of fans and reminded us why we fell in love with Spider-Man in the first place. Of course, the blueprint was there all along in the comic books. John Stewart's Green Lantern, we've got Supergirl, we've got Batgirl. These were, obviously gender swaps too, but it added to their respective comics. They made their stories better, and now we can't imagine a world without Kara Zor-El or Barbara Gordon. So Hollywood, pay attention. It's about addition, not subtraction. Build, not destroy. That's all for today. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Just so you know, I do practice what I preach, and here is the trailer for my Last Witch of Rome historical fantasy series. Enjoy, and you can listen to the audiobooks for free here on YouTube, or click the link in the description and head on over to Amazon to buy the entire series, highly rated, some 500 5-star reviews. Well liked, well loved. I hope you enjoy it. Have a great day.
Commodus ended my people. I am all that is left.
Do empires have souls? And if so, can they be corrupted? Rome was built on fire and steel, word and weapon. But a power older than time itself stirs in the shadows, spreading rot and decay, death and despair. The chosen, the wielders of the weave, were meant to stand against the darkness, but they are all but lost now, slain by those they were meant to protect. And the weave is tattered and torn. Magic fades from the world. I am Vesper, the last of a dying people, the final embers of a dying flame. I was meant to turn the tide for humanity, but I am nothing, a slave waiting for her turn to die on the sands of the arena.
You are nothing now, bone and fear. But I will make you more than men. I will make you gladiators.
To die ad gladium for the sins of my father. This is my curse, my destiny. But I refuse to fail, to fall. I will tear down every lie, I will hunt every monster, and I will reclaim the light they stole. Stand with me, or be swept away by the tide of darkness.
The Last Witch of Rome. This summer, the true battle for the soul of an empire begins.